what I would like you to do is take us back to October 3rd, 1979. What were you both doing in life at that stage? 79, October 3rd.
Well, my husband and I had just gotten married in June of that year. We were living in Windsor Locks, and we both were working at the airport at the time. I worked for United Airlines, and working at customer service up at, the ticket counter or at the gate, and it happened to be my day off that day. I do remember that. But at the time it happened, if it wasn't my day off, I literally would have been going to work and traveling the same route that I happened to be traveling that day down 75.
I make sure that this appointment I have is 3:30 and not 2:30.
Gotcha.
But as a matter of fact, it had been my brother John's son's birthday just a few days before in September, Jay. And so I was remiss in getting over to him to give him his birthday present. And so that day I called and he says, yeah, we're home. And I said, I'm going to go over and see Jay, bring him his birthday present. And so I was on my way traveling down Route 75 when it hit. Mm-hmm. I can distinctly remember.
What was it like?
Well, it had been, the day, it was rainy. It was very rainy. My husband and I were actually expecting friends for dinner. My husband's day off as well, and we were expecting friends for dinner. And I can remember it was really, really windy and rainy, and we, as I said, lived off of North Street in Windsor Locks. And I asked my husband, I said, can I take your truck instead of my car? I had a small Bobcat or something, but his car was the last one in the driveway. So I asked if I could take his. He was, okay. So I drove, and I'm coming down Route 75, and it is windy, and I can feel the truck rocking. And all I kept thinking of is, this is like a hurricane. But you hear about hurricanes. I mean, you know they're coming. I'm like, this is so strange. And I'm driving down, and I just passed the entrance to the airport, and it's windy, and the rain is coming in. And all of a sudden, I got to the point further down, say past, well, it was Hardee's at the time, where something in front of me, cars, truck, something stopped and we couldn't go anywhere. Everything just stopped. And the wind is crazy. And all of a sudden a car pulled up next to my husband, to the truck. And I looked down and I rolled down the window, and it happened to be a sky cap that I knew from up at the airport. And he says, Margie, get into Hardee's. And I was like, okay. So I just, as I said, I'm just driving like this, and I pulled into Hardee's, and we ran inside, and the wind is howling, and then all of a sudden it got quiet and everything, and we waited. Matter of fact, Freddie Alford, one of the Windsor firefighters, was in there too, and we sat and we waited a little bit, and it was just bizarre. And I said, I'm just going home. I'll have to see my nephew later. And I went out, got in the truck, and we'll come to find out the reason we couldn't go any further was there happened to be a tractor-trailer truck in front of us, and a big tree had fallen down in front of it. And it also was where, directly across the street from where I was, I guess there were two men who ended up getting killed, and one of them had been decapitated in his truck. And as I said, I'm sitting there driving like this, and I ended up getting back in the truck, and I turned back around, and that's when I started looking around, and I realized, cars, everybody's car windows were smashed. There was debris, buildings had fallen in. I'm just like, and suddenly I started crying. I'm like, oh my, I thought the world had ended and it started in Windsor Locks. And I was like hysterical. Wires are down as I am trying to manage my way down Route 75, and it's a mess. I literally saw tractor-trailer trucks flipped over. Across from McDonald's at the time, tractor-trailer trucks used to used to park on the opposite side of the street, and then the guys would run across and get something from McDonald's. Tractor-trailer trucks were flipped on their sides like they were Matchbox toys. There used to be a little small plane right up there off the highway that was flipped. I was just like hysterical. I am driving down the street and going over wires. Wires are down, and I'm like going around them, driving over. I finally got down and pulled down one of the streets as it was going towards where we lived in Windsor Locks. And as I got away from 75, it didn't look as bad. There were, it was a lot of trees had blown and leaves all over. And I got home, and I remember going into the house, and I am crying hysterically, and I'm like, oh, you can't believe, and I'm like trying to explain to my husband what had gone on, and he's like, you think that's bad? Well, we have a leak in the roof. I'm like, we have a roof! You don't understand. And he's looking at me like I have gone totally mad. Like then I'm thinking, I don't know what the extent this is. I was hysterical. I went to call the funeral home to find out about my mom. Is she okay? Is everything okay? And I ended up getting one of the guys who had worked here, and he acted like I was nuts too, and he's like, I think your mother's in Hartford, and she's fine, I was like, didn't understand. Well, needless to say, he called me back the next day and apologized profusely when he realized what had happened. Mm-hmm. But I mean, to this day, I can remember it was sheer destruction, just like you've never seen before. And I thought the world had ended or was ending.
Oh, yeah.